Welcome back to the Steven and Steven Show. I'm Steven.
And I am Steven, and this is 2 weeks in a row. Building some momentum.
It's real momentum.
Season 2, episode 4, I think.
Yeah, it's about that. That sounds about right.
You know,
I'm
when
not
we stopped
great at
recording,
keeping up with our index log.
When we stopped recording last week, the thought came to you that maybe we don't actually have any British listeners. Maybe it's just Americans using a VPN.
I like the narrative. I like the narrative that we have that we are an international podcast.
The wildest thing is, like, I'm reading these stats every week, like South Africa's listening. It's like,
we are reaching the world.
And it's probably just all our friends that are using VPN because they don't want the government to track them or something.
Which I like more than an international following. Let me just
say, I like that kind of guy. I like a good conspiracy theorist.
I think we're going to talk about conspiracy theories today, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you the conspiracy theory right now that I believe, but I don't actually know. And maybe this will count as one of my 3 that I promised to bring right off the bat. I don't. I mean, I do.
Okay.
I don't have just 3. Let's put it that way. But the one off the top of my head, and we talk about topical things. We talk about cultural happenings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there, to me, is something emerging in way of conspiracy that I just want to throw at you. Okay. Let's talk about the death of Bob Saget.
Dude, isn't that wild? Something's weird there.
Something is off.
Yeah, it's really sad.
I don't think it was related to a COVID booster, but I do think that the fact that his family was so adamantly opposed to releasing the autopsy and saying it would cause mental anguish after the cause of death was released to be blunt force trauma. And they said it was the kind of blunt force trauma to the head that like when you fall from a 10-story building.
Yeah, that's not something like you slipped and fell in the shower.
No,
unless you were hanging like a vampire bat for like 12 hours in the shower. And then
I also heard that they found him with like his hands crossed over his chest.
Yes, I heard that
like
too.
This, and it's like, if that does look, I have watched a lot of CSI. I've watched a lot of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, Law and Order Organized Crime, Law and Order, the original Law and Order.
Yeah.
I watched we're now like cumulatively like 50 seasons deep in my Law and Order knowledge, like half a century's worth of seasons of Law and Order shows. And I can tell you, if somebody dies with their hands folded across their chest, that was staged.
It was staged. Somebody did it on purpose. I follow you on that. I think something happened to Bob. I'm very concerned about what we might find out. And didn't his family just go and shut down? Like, didn't they file a petition for a lawsuit that nothing would be
an injunction that they can't release autopsy photos, they can't release further details. All that they would let be released is blunt force trauma to the head. And if you're telling me everything's cool, I can't see how America doesn't deserve to know what America's father was into.
I mean, don't we need it? Don't we need a W right now? Goodness
what
gracious.
Weird stuff was Bob Saget into that we don't know about?
I mean, he had a rough last couple decades.
Have you ever watched Bob Saget's comedy? It is not clean.
If you're looking for Danny Tanner,
you're
not finding
anything Bob Saget related. America's Funniest Home Videos, he is not doing anymore.
No.
It is raunchy.
Ironically, he was he spent a lot of time next to Dave Coulier, who is like a devout Christian and refuses to even. Oh yeah, and he like refused. He still does stand up, and he's like a clean comic. He refuses to say any. He won't even say like "darn it."
Love that. Kind of funny. Love that for Joey.
But he was right there, man, the whole time. So I don't know, man. It was rough.
You know what's really funny? Sad. it's funny because, well, it's not funny, obviously, but the craziest people came out of the woodwork talking about how much in mourning they were about Bob Saget's passing. Like, tell me what John Mayer and Bob Saget were doing hanging out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, how was that a
that's
thing?
a weird pair. Obviously, like the Full House cast and all that kind of stuff, I get, but that's an interesting. He had an effect on a lot of folks. Old Danny Tanner. So,
All right, I want to know.
rest in peace.
I think that's a good tease. Rest in peace, Danny. Do you have 3 conspiracies that you could narrow this down? Because I'm actually really excited about this particular topic, and I'm curious to see how narrow this discussion goes versus how broad it goes. So, you have 3 like you want to focus on? You want to go one? You want to alternate 1 and 1?
Yeah. What do you have one you want to talk about? I can. I
mean, we've done this with like shows that we recommend.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I want to consider the Bob Saget thing. That was just like an introductory. I have 3 to give, and I hope that you don't have any of my 3. But I want you to start.
Let's hear it.
And see what. So you go first. I want you to start.
Okay. I am a history buff. I'm
so excited about this.
There's a lot of things that over the years, we've talked about this. I think one year we were like, we were in Big Bear on a family vacation. Actually, I think it was the year that you guys weren't there, but it was the year that I got randomly obsessed with the O.J. Simpson trial.
Oof.
And I might have talked about this in the podcast before, but I have read every book. I have watched every documentary. I am here to tell you that man is guilty.
Is that the conspiracy?
I believe it like I believe my name. But I don't know if it's a conspiracy or just like I believe
a hunch.
Well, I believe that O.J. Simpson, when that man dies, I hope that he donates his brain to science, because I think we're going to find one of the worst cases of CTE ever discovered. I believe that O.J. did it, but that the NFL is covering it up because it would implicate, if we got down into it. I believe OJ believes with everything in him that he did not do it, but I believe that guy's brain is mush from years of hits in the head in the NFL. And I believe that there is a conspiracy theory within whether it's just the NFL or whether there are mainstream media organizations involved. But I believe that they are covering up the fact that OJ did it. And it's possible that OJ himself does not even know. I think he had a psychotic break, saw his ex-wife with a man he didn't recognize. And I think he just went wild. And I think he had a full-on break from reality. And I think somebody saw it and decided to help him out of it. And I think they got powerful people involved. And listen, there are certain lawyers in this country that if they get involved in your defense, you did it.
Something's going on.
Yeah. And and every single one of those guys was on OJ's defense team. So I believe that OJ did it, and I believe that it's being covered up to cover the NFL because they would expose that OJ was badly, badly damaged from years of playing football. If you remember correctly, the lawsuits about concussions have consistently been around this entire time. I know it's a little outside the lines, but that's what I believe.
But the NFL is indeed a shady organization. They wouldn't want somebody as beloved as Juice coming out as like a...
Exactly. They've got a lot of reasons to cover it.
I got to be honest with you, that when you said O.J. Simpson, that's not the conspiracy I thought you were going with.
What were you thinking I was going to go for?
There's a pretty like heavy conspiracy that O.J. Simpson is Khloe Kardashian's dad. Have
Yeah.
you never heard this before?
No, I've heard that one. I've heard that one, and I mean,
I was like, bro, I'm down for that. Like, you're gonna rock with that. All right. But yeah, I'm glad that wasn't your conspiracy necessarily.
yeah, I wasn't gonna go full Kardashian. We've talked about that family enough on this podcast. Team Kanye.
Team Kanye.
Thanks for tagging me in that Instagram this week, by the way, of Kanye's. See if I can find it. It blessed me. He probably has deleted it since then. Yeah, I can't find it. But he said, I mean, Pete Davidson deleted his Instagram. And Kanye screenshot that he had deleted the post because everybody kept telling him to find God. And yeah,
tell Skeet to find God.
He did delete the post. But my favorite part was the elite burn. Tell your mom I changed your name forever.
Thanks.
Because everybody was calling him
what a
Skeet.
thing to what a thing to say to your baby mama's new boyfriend.
Yeah. Tell your mom I changed your name forever. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I wrote that down. I was like, all right, sick burn.
Yeah, I'm gonna start using this. Can I go with one? I actually have a sports themed one, so I feel like.
Oh, good.
So, I believe that Michael Jordan was forced to retire in 1993 by then commissioner David Stern because Michael Jordan had an unimaginable gambling problem that simultaneously got him mixed up with a lot of bad people and ultimately led to a very tragic incident regarding his father. Now, I'm not putting his gambling addiction on his father, but he was definitely connected with some bad folks. But I believe the chaos of that mixed with the globalization of the NBA and Michael Jordan, I think the commissioner went to Michael and was like, hey, bro, you need a break. You should go sit this one out and you're done. And I don't know that. I also believe in this conspiracy that it was a ban from, like, he was basically kicked out of the NBA. And I think the NBA tanked so bad in those 2 years without him. I think that the commissioner wanted to be back. I believe this conspiracy. I grew up watching Michael Jordan. Pretty much every time Michael Jordan bounced a basketball, I was watching this guy, and I did not understand it to the full depths that I do now. But he was an avid gambler. He was a horrible gambler. He had terrible. That was like the one area of his professional life where he remained incredibly undisciplined. And I think his gambling became such a big thing that the very commissioner of the National Basketball Association forced this guy to retire for 3 years.
Well, and you know who agrees with you about that is Bill Simmons.
Yeah,
Bill Simmons wholeheartedly.
The first time I heard
that's the case, and I wonder if him going to baseball. Being like, you can stop me from playing basketball, but you can't stop me from playing baseball. I wonder if that was incentive for the NBA to be like, oh, fine, just come back. God, you're making us all look bad by playing in Double-A.
Yeah, like the greatest athlete of our generation can't even get on a Major League Baseball field.
Yeah, can't,
because that's what they called him in 1992. Was they didn't call him
250?
Yeah, you have to remember they didn't call this guy the best basketball player ever.
No.
The terminology they used was he's the greatest athlete ever. And if he's the greatest athlete ever, and he's the shined jewel of the early 90s, and he's out there swinging at wind in the minor leagues.
Guy could not hit a breaking ball. Could not hit a breaking ball.
No.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I do think that I agree with that one wholeheartedly. And I look, today is the day of the deadline for the Major League Baseball Players Union and the owners to reach a new collective bargaining agreement before games are canceled. Things are leaking as we record this that the owners are basically saying they're willing to cancel a month of games right off the bat. I'm telling you, that's irreparably damaging for baseball to cancel a month worth of games. But one thing that following this, and I followed this when I was 9, when the Major League Baseball strike happened, canceled the World Series, lost regular season games in the 1994. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. And I've followed this labor negotiation really, really closely. I have friends that are in law and friends that now are in sports journalism that really follow this closely and know more about baseball than I do. And I feel like I've learned one thing beyond a shadow of a doubt. People who own sports franchises love money so much that they will compromise pretty much anything to get more of it,
including the actual sport.
Absolutely. There are very few baseball fans that own those teams. Yeah. There are very few basketball fans that own NBA teams. That's what I love about Mark Cuban, right? Like the guy's just a fan. The guy
genuinely loves it.
For better or worse, the guy just went and bought a basketball team because he loves basketball. And so here we are, hours away. I mean, I keep checking my phone, like praying under my breath that somebody's going to be like, we did it, guys. We came through. But I'm telling you, like, these guys
I heard an amazing quote today about the MLB. If you took the top 1,000 players in baseball and you replace them all with the next 1,000 best players in baseball, your product on the field would suffer horribly.
It wouldn't even be close.
But if you took the top 1,000 business and front office people in all of baseball and you replace them with the next 1,000 professionals, your product would be pretty amazing.
You wouldn't see a difference.
You wouldn't see a difference because these are people that they don't actually care about, we want to see baseball. They care about, we would like to get more rich. Not rich.
Shout out to some of these guys that are doing coverage, like Levi Weaver from The Athletic. Makes my subscription completely worth it. Tweets 12 minutes ago. He says, I either have a 7:45 flight to Arizona to cover minor league camp for a week, or I have a late night phone call with my editor to call an audible on big league camp coverage. These negotiations just became personal to me. Nobody knows yet. Nobody knows anything.
And they have till what, midnight?
They're saying that John Heyman tweeted 15 minutes ago. He said baseball is expected to make another proposal within 30 minutes. Chance to beat the deadline, which I'm guessing is a midnight thing. He says, of course, with today's progress, they could keep talking tomorrow. So John Heyman actually tweeted that he thought, despite what everybody was saying, this is actually closer to an agreement than what's being reported. But then one of the players, Zach Britton, who's actually in the room, came back and said, quote tweeted John Heyman and said, this is not true. So that could be a negotiating play. It could be a sick burn on John Heyman, who is like one of the most unlikable people in all of sports. But we're talking about a 14-team postseason in baseball.
Is that real? Wow.
Sides are still talking. The mood's improved, but players' union source maintains they're still very far apart on key components.
So if they reach an agreement tonight, what happens tomorrow? Are we like at spring training? Like, are we?
They go straight to camp. They've canceled games.
Okay.
But literally right now there are 25 times 30, whatever that is, 750 players plus more.
Couldn't tell you. I did the bare minimum of math.
Standing by, basically waiting to decide if they're going to work tomorrow. Because if they reach an agreement, like within 48 hours, we'll be in spring training. Today is the deadline to see if we don't cancel regular season games. So
I'm excited. I hope we get some breaking news on this podcast.
Wouldn't that be something?
You're up next.
Of course, we post it tomorrow, so whatever.
That's a good point. You're up next with your next conspiracy. Where would you like to go?
So over the course of my life, there have been a few things I've gotten radically obsessed with when it comes to this. OJ was one of them. And the only thing that even comes close to me that I've studied and I've read all the different angles on is the John F. Kennedy assassination.
This was an honorable mention for me, so I appreciate that you brought this up.
I am fully believed. I'm fully persuaded that this was an assassination by a political rival. And depending on which documentary I'm watching today, I can be convinced it was either the CIA or the Russians.
Okay.
If it was the Russians,
gun to your head, who was it?
The Russians.
Okay.
I
think I'm more inclined to go with the Russians, but the CIA doesn't look very good in this either.
No. And what makes this one like kind of a no-brainer to me, like it's almost even, it's not even a conspiracy theory. It's just a matter of like what the heck actually happened, is that they keep sealing these records.
Yes.
Like, I think we're like 75 years. Like, I mean, this is where I would like to have a producer who could Google this for me. I'll have to Google it myself. Watch this.
Your name is Steven.
When are the Kennedy assassination records unsealed? But this woman doesn't understand me. She mangling what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I think that
they're slowly releasing some things, but nothing is supposed to be really out there.
Didn't Donnie T have something to do with that?
He did.
Getting those records unsealed.
There's a lot.
Everybody's sitting here and saying Donald Trump didn't do anything in office. If he gets the JFK answers. It
was in December that they declassified some things, but there are much more. So there's more than 10,000 documents that are either partially redacted or withheld entirely, which won't be seen until this December at the earliest, under an order issued by, guess who, President Joe Biden in October.
Look at Joe Beasy go.
Prolong the bitter debate between the federal government and JFK researchers who argue the CIA, FBI, or other national security agencies have continually stonewalled a congressionally mandated release. So there are a lot of documents out there, and dude, I'm just telling you, this is how far I've gone, bro. I've been on that grassy knoll. I've been in Dallas, Texas. There's a tour you can take where you go into the book depository.
No, really?
Yes. And the next time you're in town, you in? We doing this?
I'm kind of down. I think I would like to go do that. I think that would be really cool.
It's crazy. And in downtown Fort Worth, where I live, there's a whole big JFK like setup or whatever. I've been into this for a long time, though, a very long time. And I am fully convinced Lee Harvey Oswald was a patsy. And
he was just a pawn in this game. It's not the CIA, right?
I don't think so.
I hope it's not the CIA.
Yeah, but the fact that they keep pushing off the release of these documents makes me wonder, like, who are they waiting to die? You know what I mean? Like, who was a part of this that's still alive, that worked for the government, that, like, once that person's dead, they can come out and say, yeah, so and so did it. He was acting under the orders of this rogue person, blah blah blah. It'll get spun somehow. I mean, maybe because of current events, I would like to just believe it was the Russians and move on with my life. But
yeah, I'm just like, well, why haven't we figured it out that it's the Russians? Is it because of we had a Cold War with them and we didn't want to start anything? Like that's my only pause about why it wouldn't be the Russians. We have now more than ever more reasons to like want we have more reasons to despise Russia than ever. And so if it is Russia that killed a sitting president, I'm like, dude, that's what makes me think it might have been an internal thing.
I just feel like if it had been Russia at the time and we knew it was Russia, I think
everyone would have been terrified of nuclear bombs because they were only like 25 years away from that.
It would have gone into a full-fledged break. We might like you and I might not exist because we might have had a full-on nuclear war, because it would have been seen as an act of war. I mean, it would have been an act of war.
100%. And we still might not exist for long because who knows? Maybe we're days away from a nuclear war.
We're not. That's so overblown to me.
That's a current conspiracy that I'm a big fan of. I actually don't think that we're anywhere close to a nuclear war. I'm very, how do I say this tactfully, comfortable with our military defense systems of such capacity. And I also know that we have more. And I mean,
nobody's trying to go to war with the United States.
Yeah,
nobody. Okay.
I know that we like to dump on this country a lot, and I know like we like to be critical of our past and our sins, but this is like one of the few countries where you can actually do that, and we're still far and away better than everybody else, including Russia, which is pretty darn near close to becoming like a third world country with nuclear weapons, which is essentially what North Korea is right now. And yeah, we can work out racism and we can work out like government conspiracies and COVID and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, if you guys want to start a nuclear war with the United States, that's bold.
This is what I mean, you're a veteran, so you tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I genuinely believe that were Vladimir Putin to put a nuclear warhead in transit to the United States, it would get shot down before it got here. And then before that man had a chance to press the button on another one, Moscow would be a parking lot.
Yeah, he'd have one in his soup.
Yeah.
I mean, nuclear fallout is terrifying. So even shooting it down would cause some not good things. But also like he's kind of far away from like mainland United States. I mean, granted, he could launch one across the water and into Alaska.
It's Sarah Palin's house.
Yeah, but the thing is about doing that, like if you're going to start a nuclear war, like you're not going for Alaska, you're going for DC. Like you're going for like the
New York. You're going
for Silicon Valley, and you're going to shut down like communications. You're not going for Alaska because there's like 12 people. No offense to I hope to God you don't ever get nuked by Russia, but you're not going to nuke Alaska and then America is going to come in and handle Russia like as a whole. That's bad business practices. So I mean, we should always be worried. We live in a nuclear world. But it's not something that I'm like, oh, Putin is gonna, he's threatening everybody right now. He's like, if you guys get involved with our thing with Ukraine, like there's going to be nuclear stuff like you've never seen. I am not concerned about that. I might be concerned about the vegetable that's running our country right now, but I'm not concerned about
our. Oh, I lost you. I lost your microphone. Did you unplug yourself? Did you press a button? There we go.
I accidentally pressed mute. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not concerned about I'm concerned about Joe Biden being in charge. I'm not concerned about our military capabilities. But
let me ask you a serious question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this happens if Donald Trump is president?
Oh man. That's a great question. And it's something that everybody keeps arguing about. I would say no. And I say that because I know that Donald Trump beefed up this military pretty big. That was one of the first things that he really did was he started to rebuild our military, which is something that Obama did the opposite of. I served under Obama and he decreased our military, and he even decommissioned 2 aircraft carriers, which is unheard of. Look, man, aircraft carriers is what makes the military amazing. I know we have Marines, I know we have Air Force, I know we've got a pretty incredible army, but our aircraft carriers gives us the unique ability to like legitimately bring America to other countries from front doorsteps. That's what people should get amped about is our aircraft carriers. And when I was at one point we had 11, and I think China had the next closest to us and they were 4, and Russia had like 3, and then randomly I want to say like Argentina had 2 or something like that. Like the fact that we had 10 aircraft carriers, 11 aircraft carriers in operations is a pretty big deal. And I think Trump was trying to make that thing bigger. Granted, he's an idiot who puts his foot in his mouth, but so is Putin. And people don't like to mess with Putin because he's an idiot who puts his foot in his mouth, and you don't want to piss him off. And then he accidentally launches a nuke into Australia. And I think Trump is such a wild card. I don't think it's Trump. It wouldn't have happened under Trump because Trump is this great fearless leader. I think it wouldn't have happened under Trump because nobody knows how Trump would have reacted. Like right. My thing is, would Trump have already gone in and nuked Moscow?
Right.
Like based off where we're at today. How dare you? You attacked our good friends in the Ukraine. Moscow no longer exists. Like that's why I think it would be a deterrent, not because he's a great like fearless leader.
But is there some genius in being so unpredictable that other world powers are kind of paralyzed because they don't know what you're going to do?
How else does North Korea stay alive? Why is North Korea allowed 100%. To run amok the way they are? There's more people in Texas than there is in North Korea. They could be gone by lunchtime tomorrow, but they are sitting on a unregistered amount of nuclear weapons, and people are terrified to mess with them because their leader is a lunatic, and you don't know what those people are going to do. And
great basketball league, though.
Great basketball league. And I think China is a little bit like that, but China gives people pause because they don't spend as much. I just looked up these stats the other day. They have almost half a billion more troops in the Chinese military than America has. Maybe even be more than that. The problem is they don't spend nearly as much on their defense as the United States does. But still, do you really want to go mess with that? Like, no. Their leader's pretty wild too. So I think that actually works for Putin. I don't think Russia's nearly as strong as we've been made out to believe.
Yeah,
but I think because he's a wild card and a crazy person, people are terrified of Russia.
And I'll tell you the trigger for me, like the reason I know that Putin and Russia are not as scary as they look is that they're still at war with Ukraine.
Yeah.
Tell me, you couldn't beat Ukraine really quickly?
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I mean, America. Granted, we just came out of a 20-year occupation with Afghanistan, but that was kind of done in like 6 weeks. And 6 weeks, people might be like, well, give Russia 6 weeks. The terrain in Afghanistan is insane. It is not conducive for traditional fighting. It is conducive to air to surface combat. And it's I can't see. I was just reading a thread the other day that was talking about how untrained like Russia's army has. Their current military has not been in a true war setting in almost 30 years. So whatever their immediate occupations or invasions were, like when they invade Georgia back in 2008, like that's not a war. Like you're not getting military training because you invaded Georgia almost 20 years ago. Like, so they're not, I don't think Russia's nearly as intense of a military as they're made out to be. Now, granted, they haven't sent in their full forces either. I mean, I think truthfully, if they wanted to really deal with Ukraine, they could get that done fairly quick too. But they don't have near the resilience, and also people in Russia don't like Putin like very much. I mean, it's just we think of our military in terms of like all militaries being like us, and that's not the case. Like there's a sense of nationalism, of course, but there's also a sense of like, this idiot's going to get me killed, I'm just going to run. And that's like a real thing. And so I don't know, I'm not particularly worried about Russia, but also I was asked today if I was going to be drafted again, so I was like,
are we too old?
I don't think in wartime. I think in wartime settings they can bump you up to 40.
Oh no, I'm not going anywhere.
But I mean, there's I already did mine, bro. So I'll wave at you from the pier.
I don't think I've got a weak stomach. I'm not the guy you want for this. Have you seen the signs in Ukraine, the digital road signs that they've changed? You know, like you see those signs that have like amber alerts when you're driving.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It says like
yeah.
Blue Chevy Cobalt or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I saw one, and it could be photoshopped, but there were 3 different like signs. One of them was like pointing forward, and it loosely translates in Russian, "Go F yourself." The one below it with an arrow to the left says, "Go F yourself again." And then the one below that with a sign to the right said, "Go F yourself back to Russia." Apparently,
I mean, they're pretty fired up there in Ukraine.
Yeah. And there's things happening like tanks are running out of gas. They're having to ask locals for directions, and they're giving them wrong directions. Like, it's the wildest thing. Like, it kind of makes you like, I am pro Ukraine for some of the stuff I'm hearing right now.
I would say there's a lot of propaganda coming out of both of those particular countries, and neither of those countries are particularly good governments. But I did see one today that I was laughing at pretty hysterically. This Ukrainian farmer, apparently there was like a battle that took place between these Russians and the Ukrainians, and I'm pretty sure this story was fake, but I don't care. I thought it was hilarious. But the Russians, and they left their tank to like pursue these Ukrainians. And the farmer went out and got his tractor and hooked it up to their tank and hauled it back to the next Ukrainian base. I was like, that's kind of cool.
That's wild.
That's major World War II vibes in neighboring countries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get back
your
to
next
our
conspiracy theory. You're up.
I'm next.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna bring this up, and this is a little more all-encompassing, but what was it, like 2 years ago? Maybe it was even less than that. I'm pretty sure it was during COVID. There was a bunch of weirdos that went out to the site of Area 51, and I am all in on the Area 51. Just the idea of Area 51.
So that's a bigger implication. That's like,
yeah,
there were aliens. We have the evidence in this random place.
So I'm not convinced that we have aliens. I am not convinced that that's what's in it. I definitely think it could be. I definitely think that either we're being immensely lied to about everything about space. But there's no way that we can be on a planet in this big of a universe. And I don't know, man, that's tough to swallow. I think at Area 51, they have stuff from outside of our immediate atmosphere that they cannot explain, and they're trying to figure stuff out. I definitely think there's some weird stuff going on at Area 51 underground. And I would not be surprised if there was a little bit of extraterrestrial like evidence that something else is out there. I'm not saying they have a body. I'm not saying that it's like Independence Day where they're all trapped.
But they have enough.
Yeah. They probably got some like a meteor came through and it's like emitting like a gamma radiation and has like algae or fungi on it. And they don't have any scientists in the world that can explain it. Or it's emitting like thermal radiation from inside its core, and they're like, So I'm not convinced that there is like true aliens there, but also if we found out whenever they if we find out that JFK was killed because there were aliens in Area 51, it wouldn't shock me. I guess to say this. Are you out on the Area 51 conspiracy?
I've got a guy that I follow on Instagram who is very all in on that. Mm-hmm. And he posts some of the most convincing evidence I've ever seen. And I'm not out on it. Let's put it that way. I'm not out. I think it's a little egotistical for us to think we're the only race in the universe.
Yeah. That's a big thing to
that messes with some of my religious beliefs potentially, mm-hmm. but not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. I've struggled with that. I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. That makes me question my faith. And I'm like, does it?
Does it have to?
Yeah. Wouldn't I have to have the same amount of faith to believe that something's out there as if never mind.
Yeah. Is it possible that like maybe Jesus died for others? What if?
I don't know. What's he been doing for 2,000 years?
there's a lot to think about here.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Yeah, I'm not out on it, but I do think there's something there we're not being shown.
Yeah, I do think there is a need. I can't believe I'm actually going to say this. I do think there's a need for a space force.
Season 2's on Netflix. Finally.
Did
you watch any of season 1 of Space Force?
I've watched a couple episodes. I've watched a couple. It's kind of funny. It's pretty funny. But it's
season 1,
definitely
episode 2.
It's definitely designed to make fun of Trump.
Absolutely. Season 1, episode 2. There's a bit with a chimp that's in space, and they're trying to get the chimp to go out and weld the solar panels back to the side of it. And it's Steve Carell as the general of the Space Force, the highest ranking officer. And he's trying to get this guy who trained the chimp, and he's trying to get him to translate his instructions to the chimp. Yes. And maybe it's just the voice Steve Carell is using or something, but I've watched that scene 10 times and cried laughing every single time.
Yeah, man.
And then when they like reveal that he ate the dog when they were, it's just so like, it's absurd.
But these would be the real things that would happen.
Absurd. Yes. It's so funny though. Like
I can imagine.
I'm going to go watch it later.
I can imagine a general in the Space Force getting mad at a translator for not being able to effectively communicate to a chimp in outer space. Like that is if you've never been around a general or an admiral or somebody of that capacity, that is not far-fetched. Because usually those people don't think very rationally about the most basic and minuscule task.
The guy, I forget his actual name, the guy who plays John Ralphio in Parks and Rec is in it, and it's so good. I'm gonna go back and watch Space Force. It's an acquired taste. Treat it like The Office. It needs a few episodes to find its footing.
That's a good way to put it.
Once it does, it delivers. It delivers. Yeah.
So that's my second.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for your third. Hit me.
I'm not fully in on this.
But you're there.
But I'm like 40% in on some QAnon stuff.
Yeah. To what end? The people on this podcast want to know to what end. First off, is Trump Q?
No, I think this guy I go to church with is. He means that. He means well, and I bless him, Lord. I think that okay, so for me, there's a lot in government conspiracies. There's a lot in covering up the sins of certain folks. I do think that this relates to Jeffrey Epstein. That's the part of it I 100%, like the 40% that I am in on, 100% of Jeffrey Epstein's involvement I'm in on. I think the Clintons are shady. I think that there is something really, 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 really weird in that. And I've watched Jeffrey Epstein documentaries. Tell me how people keep turning up dead in that guy's circle.
Yeah, that's a real thing. That's a
I
real
think
thing.
there's somebody who knows something, and I really think it has to do with the Clintons. Somebody knows something that we are not privy to right off the bat. And with all of this, all the hammers being dropped, there is a group of people who are terrified that somebody is going to spill the beans, and it is going to destroy the fabric of potentially a political party, definitely some sort of like elitist, like cabal or something. Like, I don't know, but I know that there is something not right, and that the stuff that QAnon folks say, some of it makes too much sense for it to all be wrong.
Like, I don't believe that the Hollywood elites are sacrificing babies underneath a restaurant in LA and purifying their blood to the god of to their satanic gods. I don't believe that.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were some people in Hollywood that have participated in underage sex trafficking. That wouldn't shock me in the least bit. And not like once or twice, but like that's a real thing that happens on a fairly regular basis and has for quite some time. So like, I think that's where people, that's why all the crazies can't be the ones to announce these conspiracies. Like Donald Trump 100%. He can't be the one that's out here like flaunting Q, and then all of Donald Trump's followers are like, there's a Hollywood underground child satanic ring where they're all drinking the blood of babies. It's like, can we just talk about the fact that there's some kids being sex trafficked? Like, can we and not be so dramatic about that so that we can actually get these, not so that you people all sound like a bunch of loony birds. And I think that's the part that bothers me the most about it. That Epstein stuff is wild. How was that? How did that happen?
I would recommend watching a Hulu documentary about that's really focused on his death. It will get, it never comes out and says like, this is what happened, but you are able to make some decisions, make some conclusive choices about what you believe. And yeah, for me, it's not really a mystery.
Yeah, I couldn't follow that along. That is rough, man.
What's your third?
So I have two good ones here. The first one that I wanted to
both. Give me a 2 for 1. I introduced Bob Saget. I mean, you did. You can do them both.
Okay, so my first one, I guess it kind of ties to the other one. I don't know that I necessarily believe this part, but this is one that still fascinates me, and I have dug a little bit onto it, is that the moon landing was fake. The moon landing was fake. And I've heard that there are people who have like seen pictures of this, and they're like, no, it's all been fabricated because of the way that the wind blew the flag that they planted, like the way it's waving. But then other people are like, well, there is no wind on the moon. And other people are like, no, there would be wind on the moon, but the gravity wouldn't be the same. So that's not how it, I feel like I want more answers about that. And it's a little bit odd to me. Here's my thing about the moon landing. This is why I even give this conspiracy any kind of breath or life at all. Why haven't we been back?
Donald Trump wanted to. Remember, that's what Space Force was about.
We went in the 60s before we had like air conditioning in cars. Like, We should have been back to the moon by now if we went. I'm just a little shocked that like we went to the moon and we put a flag there and then nobody else cared about space until Elon Musk.
Yeah, why don't we go back? Why don't we go back regularly? That's a question.
Yeah, we should be there on a fairly regular basis, is what
just to check it out, make sure everything's good, you know?
Yeah. So that's the part.
No, yeah, I'm with you.
That's the part that I really struggle with. Okay, but my other one that I think is a little bit more fascinating, and this goes back to this other thing, is that so first off, one of the things that I love about World War II is how people have so many conspiracies about Hitler's death. And I heard several things that Hitler, there's like the Nazis had a secret base in Antarctica. Rumors began in the 50s that the Nazi party was like coming back into circulation after World War II, and they were staging out of the secret base in Antarctica. But the one that I like is the crazy idea that this dude went to Argentina. Like Hitler escaped on a German U-boat and went to Argentina, and he died like in like the late 90s. Whoa, dude.
There's a documentary called Gray Wolf: The Escape of Adolf Hitler. And
is there really?
Yeah, I'm looking now to see where you can watch it. It came out in like 2013, 2014.
Oh wow, look at this. 2014. It's on it's on Tubi. I don't even know what Tubi is. That's all right. It's on Amazon Prime for 99 cents. Wow.
Yeah, I read this book.
This looks great.
3 years ago, maybe. It was a book.
And it's about him potentially escaping to Argentina.
Yeah.
Wow.
And apparently lived until 62. There was an Argentinian writer. He would have been 73 or something like that, because Hitler was born in like what, 1890? Is that right?
Oh, yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
But he yeah. Wow. It was a theory.
I love this. This is my favorite conspiracy of all.
For sure. There's allegedly photographic evidence of him. You've got to watch the book. You've got to watch this movie. You've got to watch this documentary. I want to say the book came out, man, I want to say probably around the time we got married. So like 2011, 2012, if I'm remembering correctly. And there was a documentary made about it 2014, 2015, but it's called Gray Wolf. I need to look this up. Hold on.
I just pulled it up. It was made in 2014.
Oh, was I right? Wow.
Yeah. Well, Gray Wolf: Hitler's Escape to Argentina, 2012. And then the movie, The Escape of Adolf Hitler, was in 2014. That's on Amazon Prime. So it looks like there's a couple of them. How fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch this.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I kind of believe it.
He would have run.
Absolutely, he would have run.
He seems like a guy that would have run. I don't believe that he killed himself. I wouldn't be surprised if he had those other families in that bunker kill themselves, and then he was like, I'm out.
He's the other thing that is, I mean, this is not a conspiracy theory, but I'm fascinated by prison escapes like Alcatraz. I'm fully convinced those guys made it out and they lived, peaceful lives for the end.
Probably down in Zihuatanejo.
Oh, that's an elite reference right there.
That's an elite. That was for you, buddy.
Thank you. My favorite movie of all time.
I know.
I am absolutely convinced by a lot of those. I also, look, this is just part of my personality. I get weirdly obsessed with things like this. Like, I got so obsessed with Amelia Earhart for like a solid year.
Did she die from crabs? Like, she got eaten by crabs?
I think she was eaten by cannibals.
I read a conspiracy today. I was like looking up some of my best ones, and they were like, "Oh yeah, she died because she landed on this island, and they had like 3-foot crabs, and they ate her." I was like, "That's dope."
I think she got. I think she got eaten by natives. I think she got eaten by cannibals. Also, the Malaysian flight that just
bizarre,
disappeared.
There is definitely some stuff going on there.
Bro, I get into this stuff and I'll be up till 4 a.m. Like, we should probably call it. Let me check on baseball before we call this a night. But
we got to pull this back up again, though. If you're listening to this while Steven checks in on baseball, we want to hear about what your favorite conspiracy theory is. What do you believe? What's weird? Email us at the Steven and Steven Show at gmail.com or follow me at the Hailstone. Follow Steven at Steven Shelton. How's baseball doing? Anything?
Do you are you familiar with Jock Peterson? Yeah. I don't think he plays for the Dodgers anymore, but
former Dodger.
Jock Peterson just said, official, we'll play 162 7-inning each games. 32 teams make the playoffs, and everyone gets a participation trophy.
I love it. He's trolling.
The players are very resistant to this 14-team playoff deal.
Wow,
which is interesting.
How many go right now? 6 from each.
Golly, is it 6 even? There's a play-in game and a division series. So hold on. 2, 4. Yeah. I mean, it's
what are they against expanding 2 teams?
8. It's technically, I guess it's 10 because it's a playoff.
So 10 total, not 10 from each conference.
No. It's
10 total. Yeah. So they basically
and they're saying
2 extra rounds.
In a 32-team league, they want 14 teams to go to the playoffs, which sounds kind of like the NBA.
Right now they take 20.
But the NBA,
if you're in the top 10 in each conference, you get a crack at it. So
I don't know, man. The NBA, I just feel like is a different thing. They only play 82 games.
And the NBA game takes about an hour and 40 minutes, and the MLB game takes like 6 days.
3.5 hours. Oh God. Yeah, this will be a thing. Thank God.
All right. Well, hopefully
John Heyman out there on it. Yeah.
Right on. Hopefully next week, though, we have an answer to the baseball question. And again, we'd love to hear your conspiracies, and we'll read them.
Whether you're actually in England or just on a VPN, let us know.
Doesn't matter. We care about all of you. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Oh, me. That's a good one. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye. Cheers.